7. That is the number of times a special session of Indian Parliament has been called since 14th August 1947. These have been the big reasons behind this. The transfer of power from Britishers, a discussion over the Indochina War,
the Chinese government,
to celebrate India's 25th Independence Day, the 50th anniversary of Quit India movement, the 50th Independence Day anniversary,
जनता की अपेक्षाएं उससे ज्यादा हैं, जनता की आवश्यकताएं उससे भी ज्यादा हैं.
Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's 125th birth anniversary,
महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका एक ड्राफ्टिंग कमेटी के चेयरमैन के रूप में डॉक्टर भीमराव जी अंबेडकर की रही है.
and to discuss GST rollout across the country.
We will witness the launch of goods and services tax, a unified tax system in the country.
And now, there will be an 8th session. The Centre has called for a special session of Parliament from 18 to 22nd September. While there is no official word on the agenda of the session, speculations are rife that it may table a bill concerning one nation, one election. What has given rise to this speculation is the fact that the government has set up a committee under former President Ramnath Kovind to look into the viability of one nation, one election. If this happens, it means holding elections for all state assemblies and the Lok Sabha simultaneously, something that the Narendra Modi government has actively pushed for over the years. Speaking with the Quint, Supreme Court advocate Sanjay Hegde said that there are people who have estimated that at least 5 articles of the Constitution would have to be amended. At the same time, for constitutional amendments to pass, it would need the support of at least 2/3 of the members of the House present at the time of voting. This means that it won't be easy for the government to get through this, at least in the Rajya Sabha. If the amendment passes in Parliament, it needs to be ratified by the assemblies of at least half of the states of India. The legislation will also have to provide for either a fixed date of elections across the country or a method to ascertain a fixed date of elections across the country. The first requirement for one nation, one election is to synchronize the tenure of Parliament and all state assembly legislatures. For the same, a date will have to be decided from which all the tenures will be in sync. This is easier said than done. The Karnataka Assembly is just 4 months into its term, the UP Assembly 1.5 years, and the Delhi Assembly 3 years. How can the tenures now be synchronized? A second hurdle would be the deployment of paramilitary forces that aid election process. Mr. Hegde asks a pertinent question here. Since Lok Sabha elections are held in 6-7 phases and central forces move from one area to the other, how can one suddenly expand the paramilitary forces once every 5 years and then demobilize them? However, experts also believe that holding elections simultaneously can help reduce expenditure. Let's consider that the centre comes up with logistical solutions, but that will only be half battle won. Consider this situation. If a party loses vote of confidence in a state after being in power for 2 years and the opposition does not have numbers to form a government, would the government continue without having confidence of the House? Wouldn't that be an undemocratic option? Secondly, the governor might assume power in case of a state assembly, but what about the centre? Taking a cue from our history, in 1952, 1957 and 1962, state assembly elections and Lok Sabha elections were held simultaneously. But due to non-fulfillment of a 5-year tenure, assemblies were dissolved before their terms could end. Even in 1977, when Janata Party assumed power at centre, it advised the states to seek fresh mandate wherever Congress lost confidence. This was challenged in the Supreme Court since state elections were supposed to be held in synchronize with the centres. Given the circumstances at that point, the Supreme Court upheld it. But will the Supreme Court uphold such a challenge today for the sake of synchronizing elections? To this, Mr. Hegde says, essential to the parliament form is that the government of the day must demand the confidence of the House. And if a situation arises where there is no such government possible, recourse to the people must always be available. If the assemblies cannot be dissolved whatsoever, then you have a position of unrepresentative governments that goes against the parliamentary form of government.